to another edition of Love in Action, Deconstruction Junction, where we deconstruct all of the thoughts in our brains and in our lives over the last week or so. I'm Dr. Flo, not telling you what I heard, what I know. What I know is that you're loved and lovable. You've always been loved and lovable, and you're going to be loved and lovable for the rest of your life. As always, I am joined by the fabulous co-host with the most, Tara Praolo Studio. Would you like to introduce yourself to the crowd today? Well, I should also say, before we launch into Tara's introductions, that I encourage, equip, and empower bold dreamers to follow their bliss in this life by using their time, talent, and treasure for the making of good trouble. And this program is an extension of that good trouble that we make, getting people to open their minds to new thoughts and new possibilities and new patterns of being on the planet as it relates to the current affairs and the hot topics of the moment.
Yes. I am Tara Praolo. I am your resident Black, biracial, multi-passionate musician. I talk about the ish that nobody wants to talk about and push you to do the same. And I love Deconstruction Junction because we get to talk about all the things under the sun and just talk about how they all relate. Because at the end of the day, I think all of us are talking about the same ish. And we could use a little more recognition of that like we're all on each other's side. Even if we seem like we're not, we are. We are. Light workers, we are. So if you are a light worker or a person that likes to talk about deconstruction or a person that likes to talk about decolonization or sports or literally anything, we would love to have you on the pod as a guest and perhaps a recurring guest if you choose to do that. And you can find all of that information as well as apply at our website, lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link. And if you want to talk to us during the week and deconstruct during the week, we do have a chat on our WhatsApp channel, the main LIA chat that you can come in and you can share what you're finding on the interwebs or beyond in that chat. And we talk in there quite a bit about the things that we found. And I do believe that Dr. Flo just shared that everywhere that it needed to go. And I'm up first. So, sports updates. Y'all know it's the fall, which means that it's not really the fall. Did y'all know that the fall doesn't start until September 21st? Did y'all know that? Yeah. Anyway, it's not the fall yet. Also, somebody on Threads the other day was like, I know I'm Black because the dates September 3rd and September 21st are really important to me, which I didn't get the September 3rd one, but I guess is like in a Temptation song. But the 21st is because of Earth, Wind, and Fire. In September, the 21st night of September. But I don't feel like that's a Black people thing because I went to a predominantly white institution for college and we danced to that song every single night of September. They put on parties and we would go to the buildings around school and we would dance to that and it was great.
That is a thing. I do remember that. That's a flashback.
Yeah. And we would, we had a whole thing. Dancing in September, One, two, three, four. Anyway, okay. So
I forgot about that. That is a flashback. And it would be every night of September.
Every night. And especially the biggest party on the 21st. So if you're interested, maybe dance to that song every night, I guess. So I've got sports updates for you all, just because it's fall time and lots of the sports are getting rolling. So the tennis season though is actually winding down, but I wanted to bring this because power to the people, man. We have had some incidents with Taylor Townsend, and quite frankly, many of the Black people have lost in the singles matches, but Taylor Townsend is actually in the finals for the doubles. We saw Venus Williams play singles and go quite far in the doubles match. We saw Ben Shelton injure his shoulder and have to retire from the singles, as well as mixed doubles, where he and Taylor lost. And then we also saw Coco Gauff be in her head quite a bit. But anyway, I'll read these and kind of give you the update on the US Open, which ends, I believe, this weekend. So, and this first one reminded me of Frederick Richards, who also did this similar thing. So it says Taylor Townsend having to create her own tennis line because brands wouldn't dress her and sponsor herself after being blackballed by UTSA, which is the tennis association, to being one of the most talked about players in the U.S. Open should be a lesson on betting on yourself. So Frederick Richards also did the same thing where he disagrees with. He doesn't feel comfortable in the outfits that the gymnasts, the male gymnasts, have to wear because it shows everything, and also it's just uncomfortable. So he created his own line, and he takes a 3/10 deduction, which is a huge deduction in gymnastics, on every single event, and actually lost out on being on the Worlds team this year because they didn't want to take the deduction at Worlds, even though he placed second in the all-around at the U.S. Championships. So there's that. But that's very interesting. So like I said, so Taylor ran into some... Ostapenko was being racist, and that's why we're all talking about Taylor. But Taylor is in the finals of the doubles, which I believe is today. So if you want to watch that, it's either today or tomorrow. You can watch that. It's on ESPN. We also have Naomi Osaka, who is playing, like, honestly her best tennis that I've ever seen her play. She beat out Coco Gauff, not this last match, but the match before that. And then she played Muchova last night, and it played a wonderful, wonderful match. So she is in the semifinals, and I cannot remember. Oh, yes, I do. She's playing Amnismova. I call her Amanda because I don't know how to say her last name. She's playing some good tennis too. She's a mom. She's a white lady. But anyway, so that should be a fun match to watch. And then we have the Black Canadian French dude who is also in the semifinals, and he will be playing Yannick Sinner. The other semifinal is Alcaraz versus Djokovic. So we'll see who wins out there. I have a feeling it's going to be Alcaraz. When Joker was playing,
if he brings his brain to the court today or whenever it is,
he's been playing really well in the Open. He's been very present in the Open. And Djokovic played Fritz the other night, and although he pulled it out, he had to take a rest several times. Like, his 38-year-old body is showing that he's played high level tennis for 20 some years. So just there's that. That's the US Open. Y'all know I love tennis. I love gymnastics. I actually love most sports. There's not really a lot of sports that I don't like. So just know we're gonna have updates, because you remember that guy that used to be here that I used to do this football show with? Y'all are just gonna be getting that. So just put up with it. So I have one more slide, I think, on this, which is, as I celebrated in the clubhouse room, and Dr. Flo is going to change the slide eventually. It is the NFL opener. It is the NFL opening. So, and I wanted to celebrate the blackness of the NFL. Today, NFL opening day, there are 6 black coaches, 16 black quarterbacks, and 18 black minority owners. And so congratulations to the black people making strides in the slavery that is the NFL. And we will be watching one of those black quarterbacks. Maybe it's 2. I don't know who the quarterback of the Cowboys is right now, but it was Dak Prescott, who's another black man. But we will definitely be watching Jalen Hurts tonight. If you'd like to join that, join this NFL and more chat on our WhatsApp, and I will drop a linky poop or do a soft call in that chat this evening so we can watch prime football. Excuse me. So you all will be getting my updates on all of that. What are we watching?
Y bueno, y así terminó Medvedev, que tenía que descargarse, parece. Sí. Es así que no quedó ni para colgarla de recuerdo.
Crazy.
Y bueno, y así terminó Medvedev, que tenía que descargarse, parece. Sí. Es así que no quedó ni para colgarla de recuerdo.
the fits that some of these people throw. Joker also threw a fit the other night because like the crowd was being too loud, even though he like pumped up the crowd, and then they started cheering for Taylor, and he was like, "You gotta get them to shut up!" Blah, 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 blah. He was like yelling at the ref, and I was like, "You need to calm down. You're the one that did it first."
Nothing beats like breaking your own very expensive racket that you might need again.
$8,000. Like,
make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Well,
truly.
Instead of pulling a tantrum in your life, how about looking for the good? It's one of my slides today. I've been really changing my environment and really making some lifestyle changes. And in that adjustment period, at times I've been beating up on myself a bit about things not moving forward as quickly as I thought they would have. And I have been encouraged by Tara and Poppy and others around me to continue to move towards the positive. And I wanted to talk ever so briefly today about what that means for you and for me, especially in these particular times, which are no different than other times that we've been in throughout all of civilization. But what makes it especially important right now to be on the positive side of life? And we've been talking about this a lot also in the daily peer support group over on Clubhouse. And I wanted to hear your thoughts about it today. What it means for you to look for the good and to accentuate the positive in your life. And is that helping you along the path?
Yeah, as I was talking about in the Clubhouse room this morning, and it, relates to I believe it's Les Brown quote, like we just don't have enough evidence to be a cynic about ourselves. Like we don't know enough. And so I really, I'm really embracing in this season of my life that I am the joy is the revolution girly pop on the internet. Like, and that feels light, it feels happy, it moves me along. And I'm a person that like, because of the career path that I chose, because of the world, because of my identity as a biracial person, like there's a lot in there that could cause me to believe that the only thing that could move me forward is negativity, right? The only thing that could move me forward is a deadline, or the only thing that could move me forward is, I don't know, my face pressed up against glass. We used to talk about that a lot, right? But instead, like I look at my child, and my child has helped a lot with this because my child is a very joyful baby. Like my child doesn't cry a lot. My child doesn't like get upset truly a lot. There's definitely like attention seeking, but that's just a baby thing, so like my child is a ball of joy. And watching my child means that I can look for the good in the other spots of my life and use that as the motivation, as opposed to seeking out something that is going to be like quote unquote bad enough to get me to move, right? And I talk about this a lot, that like I do think that complacency gets mixed in there, like that you have to move like a step above complacency, right, into like happiness, into joy, instead of just being complacent, because I think the complacent makes us on the like everything's fine, everything's fine. It's really easy to go down the spiral from there rather than go up the spiral into actually looking for the good, like this is saying.
And moving out of the boredom of life, or the boredom of what life is bringing to us, and pushing up the emotional guidance system into a space of contentment and gratitude for what we do have. Because of course, being grateful for what we do have makes room for us to be appreciative of the new stuff to come. And good is always looking for us. There are people who always want to connect with our light, and hopefully we want to connect ourselves with the light within others. And so looking for good is an amazing trait to have. I consulted the AI while we're sitting here, and it said to find positive energy, cultivate a practice of gratitude and self-kindness, focus on positive thoughts and words, engage in acts of kindness towards others, and surround yourself with uplifting people and inspiring content. And remember what's a fact and what's a thought. Separate your feelings from objective reality. Avoid being overwhelmed by negative thinking, and embrace your inner strength. And like we said earlier, be around positive people. Practice acts of kindness. Use positive language, and also spend time in nature. As Tara would say, touch grass. That can be good for finding the positive in our lives. Speaking of the opposite of positive.
Yeah. All right. Y'all know that I have to give, and sorry, y'all, I was looking at an email and got distracted. As you know, I am prone to do. I just wanted to bring this. I don't have anything, but this is just like your political update. The Epstein files, Trump is desperately trying to distract from the Epstein files. And so he has activated the National Guard and threatened to come for other cities with the National Guard, saying like Chicago is next, basically, and that there are Black women in Chicago begging for him to clean out the crime. Very weird. We know he's on the list. And surprisingly, Marjorie Taylor Greene actually said that if she receives the list, she will read it on the House floor. And I believe there was a rally at the Capitol steps yesterday with some of the survivors of Epstein and those things that said that they were also going to just release their own list. Personally, I'm not really sure why we're waiting on the government to release something that we already know. But like, that's just my opinion of it all. And I just wanted to acknowledge that like the National Guard being activated is a giant scare tactic that we don't really need to put a lot of stock in, because it doesn't seem like they've really actually done a lot in Washington, D.C., where they have been activated, but just, a reminder to keep your head on swivel and just make sure you're aware of what is happening in your town and city as we go forward here.
Why do you think MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, why do you think she's involved now? Is it for the sensationalism of it all, or is it for women's rights?
I was thinking about this earlier, and like, it's the binary of it all. Like, y'all, I don't like MTG either. Okay. Like, I'm not like, she's a religious fanatic. I don't really dig those type of people, but like, she's also not all bad. Like, very similar to Amy Coney Barrett. Like, y'all came for Amy Coney Barrett. You wanted to convince everybody that Amy Coney Barrett was, the devil walking and she was going to be bad for women. And in fact, in a lot of instances, Amy Coney Barrett has defended women from the Supreme Court, right? And the same, now not in like the overturning of Roe versus Wade, but in other cases. And I think the same is true for MTG. Like, no one is 100% bad, right? And I don't think, I do think it has something to do with the women's rights. I do think that, being a mega Republican and in that world means you're surrounded by men who think that they own the earth, right? And they just don't. And so like, I do think that there's probably some part of MTG and some part of any woman who identifies with MAGA that kind of like goes like side eye to things like rape, like, child trafficking. Like, I do think there's something to that eventually you get to a point where like you can agree. You go so far, it's like the people that say like the far left is really the far right, because you just go so far around the circle that you end up in the same spot. Like, we're not on such a binary. Like, we're like, people are not 100% good and 100% bad. It does not exist. People are somewhere on a slider on any given topic. And so this is MTG's topic to be a little bit more towards the middle. And that's just all I think it is.
Do you think we're ever going to see the files? Do you think, did you just mention that the women, the victims said they were going to release their own list if people at the top
the survivors have said something to that effect. I just don't think it matters. I think this is one of those things where like the Dems are really out of touch with what actually needs to be happening. Like, I do think that we know enough from context clues and things that have been said over the years to know roughly who is on this list, right? I don't think there's any doubt that Trump is on the list, that Clinton is on the list, that a lot of these very high level
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, like wealthy people are on the list, right? And so like I don't think it matters. And I don't think in 3.5 years, when we go to the voting booth, the Epstein files being released in 2024 is going, or 2025 is going to matter. It's not the thing that is the winning thing for the Democrats. And so I'm just tired of the whole discussion, quite frankly. I don't care if we ever see him or not. I think that we should honor the survivors. I think that we should believe the survivors. I think that we should believe anybody that comes forward, in the same way that I think it's very problematic that both Clarence Thomas and whatever that other jerk's name is, what's his name? The white boy with the blue eyes that cried on the stand.
You're talking about
Kavanaugh.
Oh, yeah, Brett.
Yeah. Brett, yeah. I think it's really unfortunate that the women were not believed in either of those cases, right? And they were elected to the Supreme Court, right? They were nominated to the Supreme Court and voted into the Supreme Court by Congress. And so I just don't think it matters as much as believing the survivors who have come forward. And that's that. I don't think it matters if we have an official list, or if the list comes from the survivors, or if we never see a list at all, as long as we're believing the people that are coming forward.
We got to believe the victims, man. People don't just make up these things by and large. The logic does logic for sure.
Right.
I want to talk about the propaganda of unworthiness today. The trademark is just
TM. Trademark pending.
Because that's what the AI wanted me to put there as part of this program that I'm working on. And I just want to say that if you're out in the world and out in the wild and you begin to, for reasons unbeknownst to you, feel like the dreams and the goals that you have in this life are not capable of being achieved, it may not be because you're a bad person or anything like that. It could be because of the propaganda of unworthiness that is out in the news, in the media, in people's families, and in their friend groups. There's just so much being reflected back to us about how we don't deserve universal basic income, equitable access to education, housing for us all. Poppy Water has been blown away at his new gig by how much food waste he's experienced in the local community. And this is something that I experienced when I worked at Cracker Barrel and also Red Lobster, 20 years ago now. All of the food that would just go into the dump at the end of the night. And then we have people in our communities that are food unstable or perhaps hungry even tonight. And there are people in power and people with affluence who believe that folks in our communities are unworthy of eating. And I wanted to tease out today on the pod a bit of what that is about. I also wanted to give you all the highlights of this program that I'm working on as it relates to the propaganda of unworthiness. I'm pulling my notes here. There are about 5 areas that are the top areas of challenge for people who are engaging this. It's self-worth and identity, body and health unworthiness, money and work unworthiness, which we're going to be pulling out the materials of Under Earners Anonymous soon and excavating into why we feel that we are not worthy of earning enough to take care of ourselves and our communities. Relationships and belonging is another area where the propaganda of unworthiness can seep in, and also spirituality and expression. Feeling disconnected, silenced, and unworthy of the gifts that we have in our lives. This is all part of this oppressive force put forth by people who have money and power to keep us from feeling like we deserve. And I'm going to start very, very soon taking people through a 30-day journey to reclaim their worth and their worthiness. What say you about the propaganda of unworthiness and what you're doing, Tara, to disrupt it in your own personal flow?
I would say just listening to people, like, and confronting that negativity bias that I've been talking about all day today that comes up when we believe that we're unworthy, right? I think it's easier to control people that are unhappy. This is why I say joy is the revolution, right? I think it's easier to control people who are feeling undeserving and unworthy, and I think that is the reason why they put out that propaganda. And I've talked about this before, but like the idea that because we suffered to get something that the next generation should also suffer to get that thing only encourages this propaganda of unworthiness. And it is just a lie. And I think that the minute that you like actually sink your teeth into the fact that it's a lie is the minute that you move beyond it, right? Is the minute that you are able to engage in community fully. And that's really like, we've talked about this for years and talked about it even in the room this morning of, people not being able to stay, but it in the community, but it really has less to do with the good work and the work that the community is doing as much as it does to do with their unworthiness story that they've been fed, right? And so I really think that we can lead people to the water. That is a lie, but we can't make them believe it. So until they really sink their teeth into it, it probably won't change. And again, like, I think it's sold to us as a belief that we must have in order to get things done, right? Like I was talking about earlier, that convincing that we need something negative to push us along, as opposed to just believing that we're worthy enough to step into the space that we were born to occupy, right?
This idea that we must always feel adversarial to ourselves or adversarial to life in order to overcome it.
Right.
Why not just flow with the good that you want and believe that you have everything that you need in your hands right now to get it done?
Right.
That would be nice. That would be nice. We're working on it, folks. Stay tuned for my workshops and my ongoing modules and series as they unfold around this propaganda of unworthiness and how to overcome it. I'm looking forward to working on that project. And if y'all see me looking over today, I have we may talk about it a bit later. I think it's in the deck. I have a Roblox addiction. It just keeps my head in the game of life. It keeps some fun stuff going. And there's a new game called My Water Garden. And I have been sitting here podcasting with Tara and recording this week's podcast and also picking up all sorts of peaches and oranges and amazing fruits in my water garden. Have you gotten over to that game yet?
I did. I didn't. I haven't dug into it. I haven't dug into it enough to know if I like it or not. This has a video attached to it. So next slide and we'll watch Miss Christina give us some words.
It's finally dawned on me that that's the issue. It's shame. One of the issues, we got a lot, but one of the issues is shame. Some of y'all have said and done things that you struggle with and you should be ashamed of. You should be ashamed of it. And sometimes you need somebody to tell you, you should be ashamed of that. You need to be ashamed of yourself, because that is something that should hold shame. I have thoughts. I've done things that I'm ashamed of and should be. But the issue is our relationship with shame is fucked up. Our reaction to shame is fucked up. Because that's where the erasure comes in. I didn't do that thing. No, I didn't do that. I didn't say that. No, not at all. That's where the archiving comes in, because the gaslighting that happens due to us having a fucked up relationship with shame. And then due to the archiving, gaslighting, then the punishment comes. And it's just a continuation of a cycle that also exists in history, which is why archiving is necessary, because gaslighting exists in history and shame exists in history. That's why we sit here and we say, how could all of this have happened in the past? How could this have happened? Because we as a society have shame. But because we have a fucked up relationship with shame, we erase history. We gaslight history. We don't want to admit when shit has happened. So the cycle continues. And how do you think that that cycle on a macro societal scale happens amongst us personally? Because we personally have a fucked up relationship with shame. There's some shit that we believe, some shit that we do, all of us, that we should be ashamed of. But that doesn't mean that we have to ostracize ourselves. That don't mean that we have to be without community. What does it look like to express and experience and feel shame within community? We don't know that. We don't know what that feels like, because we're afraid of what that looks like, because all we know to shame to be is gaslighting and erasing and punishing and ostracizing. That's all we know shame to be. But what does it look like to have shame exist differently? And I'm not speaking just from my 2 degrees. The 2 degrees ain't even the bulk of what I'm saying. It's my experience. It's life. And specifically experience of dealing with accountability online. And that's what's really getting me about this conversation right now, is it's from a lot of people who have not had to experience accountability and shame online in the ways that I and a lot of other people have. I was the subject of one of the most, to this day, I think, disgusting forms of harassment that has ever happened on Twitter almost 4 years ago, to where I reacted and called a whole bunch of these niggas boo bags, right? Boo bags, because I was getting harassed, threatened with assault, with rape. We were getting called slurs for 4 days straight, and I said I had enough. I'm fighting fire with fire, and my words cut sharp as they did. The tweet heard around the motherfucking world, and I snapped. And I reacted. And that screenshot, it's so deep fried. That screenshot that people use against me 4 years later, it's deep fried like the catfish. That screenshot been used against me for 4 years. And you know what's almost always missing from that is the context. The context is always miraculously erased. Almost always. It wasn't black men who was harassing me for 4 days straight, mainly. They wasn't saying those words to me. None of that was happening. I can't produce screenshots. I can, and I have. But even that gets misconstrued. So when we, on a side note, when we have a conversation about archiving, and people are like, oh my God, you're going to use this against da-da-da. Archiving is almost always used against the victims of some shit. Because the system perpetuates that the oppressors or people that say or do the fucked up shit, say some fucked up shit, they get hidden, they get erased, they get protected. The victims, almost never. And I'm speaking as the victim, right? But there's another conversation about archiving. As the victim, my words got archived. My reaction, more importantly, my reaction got archived. And in my reaction, there was violence in that reaction, because I was reacting to violence, of course, right? But the archiving also allowed me space to realize I could change my words and I could change my reaction. Online, I wasn't experiencing accountability online. I wasn't experiencing community for real online. I was experiencing shame. My shame became so fucking public that I had to unpack and deconstruct my personal relationship with shame, because I did have it. And whenever I was feeling like, nah, fuck that shit, like I said what I said, which I still say, I said what I said. I will never be upset at the woman that protected herself in that moment. She got me to where I am today, no. But when I struggled to unpack that right, it was always my ego coming up forward, like, nah, I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have nothing to be ashamed about. I did. I had a lot to be ashamed about, because the reaction did not match or align with what it is I actually believed. I actually do not want to talk to black people like that. Being someone whose words and context of a reaction was being misconstrued and twisted online, where accountability was not really happening, I decided to see what accountability looked like for me personally, and that started with changing my relationship to shame. The moment I started interrogating my relationship to my own shame and shit that was shameful or is shameful, changed the fucking game. Because nobody can discard of me if I face my own shame. And that includes saying some fucked up shit. Now, my shit was a reaction. And I still felt like, damn, now that's not how I want to move in this world. I don't want people to just remember me as that. And I fought that successfully. I fought that screenshot because I've been a real ass bitch in the shit that I've said and the shit that I've done, because I had to be, because I was facing it online. It was my face, it was my words, and it didn't even end there. I've been doxxed for the jokes I've said. I lost my damn job for joking on white people. It is what it is. It was what it was. You know what I'm saying? So to those of y'all who have said some fucked up shit right online and nobody's surveilling you, you sat there, hit record, said some fucked up shit, whether it was ableist, whether it be about a genocide, whether it be some anti-black shit. You said that fucked up shit. Nobody forced you to say that shit. Sit with the shame of that. Some of the shit y'all have said, you should be ashamed about. You should feel shame about talking about a part of the world being turned into a parking lot in condos as people are being decimated. You should be ashamed about that. Yeah, feel it, process it, and then transmute it. We live in a society where we want to deal with shame and erase the shit that happened and act like it did not happen, because if it didn't happen, then there's nothing to be ashamed about. No, that is how we continue the cycle. That is how we continue the cycle. Some of the anti-black shit that people were saying, or the way that people focus on black people to do everything or be the scapegoat for all the problems in the world, you should feel ashamed about that too. But what does it look like to actually use the shame to change? That whole experience, my experience online and dealing with accountability and, as you could call it that, shame, gaslighting online, has forced me to really kind of like think about that. What does it look like if I face the shame? The shameful indoctrination that society has done to me. I've been indoctrinated with the shit. You've been indoctrinated by this shit. There's shame with that. But if I don't face the shame and I try to erase it, I'm allowing it to control me. Some of y'all are allowing it to control you. And you're missing the beauty of being able to change. That's another thing. If you erase and ignore and gaslight, it ruins the possibility of change. Do you want to change? Do we want to change? Do we want society and our communities to change? Can you look back at your past words, your past actions, and be like, yeah, nah, I don't line with that no more. I was wilding. Y'all were right. That was crazy. Because that's proof of change to me. That's proof of change to myself when I can do that. Otherwise, it looks like that did align with you. And that's scarier. It's scarier to see that your past does align with you than saying that I've changed and it no longer does. Some of y'all.
Wow, she really likes hearing herself talk more than me.
Well, she talked a long time, and I think some of the context wasn't necessarily needed. Like, I didn't really know what she was talking about in terms of the Twitter post. But, like, I do agree. And I'm like, shame is an emotion that we feel. And back to what we were talking about in the room this morning, I don't think that necessarily, and what she was advocating for is like, I don't think that necessarily has to be a bad thing. I don't necessarily, like, I think we can categorize it as an uncomfortable feeling maybe, but like, I don't think it's a bad thing that we feel shame. And I think there's this in particular, and I was talking about this in the room this morning, like some people make some comments that come out of left, you know, and they'll defend it until the ends of the earth. And it's like, no, that like, no. You really do need to sit with how horrible that statement was, you know? And so, and I think there is a lot of what I see online right now, as she was saying, like, if you have a take that, you know, the genocide should be happening to the Palestinians, for instance, Nobody clipped me there because y'all know that I don't believe that. But if you do believe that, you know, and you say that online and you get checked for it, like, you should have some shame in that statement. You should. And some people have been put up on such a pedestal that they think that they're not able to be checked, right? Or society has said, yeah, listen to Black women, and then there's Black women talking out the right and left sides of their mouths. That is just not helpful, right? And so, like, I do think there are things that get taken out of context, but I also feel like we can be, as she was starting in the beginning of that video, that, like, we can be a little bit more neutral in the fact that we feel shame. Like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Now, Dr. Floyd talks about toxic shame. I think that's very different. That, like, toxic shame is something that is placed upon us, in my opinion, is something that is placed upon us by the perception or by the expectation we have or that others have of us, right? And there's a shame that comes from that, right? There's a shame placed upon us that we then believe. That's toxic shame. But shame in general, like, if I say something that ain't good, you know,
Toxic shame is debilitating for no reason, or debilitating as it relates to um, a non-harmful part of ourselves. Something like, being shamed for the color of your skin. Well, you didn't do
Right.
anything to create that condition, so you should not be shamed about it. I looked up because this slide deck actually brought me to the place of wanting to understand a little deeper of what the definition of shame is. Shame is a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by a consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. And so, to your point, if you are being wrong and foolish, that is a need for a course correction, and that feeling of shame could actually be for your benefit to correct the behavior. Is what you're saying.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like, if I get a math problem wrong, if I say 1 + 1 is 11, that ain't right. You know? And I'm not saying that something as simple as that should be shamed, or like I should feel shame about not knowing that. But at the same time, like, I do believe that shame has a place. Again, not toxic shame, but shame, I think, can have some more neutrality to it. And it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world to feel the shame that, you know, we do. Like, if you do say something out of pocket, right? Or if you do posit a belief or posit a thought that is left, you know, left or right of center, and it don't land properly, you know, like, you might feel some shame in that. And I don't think that necessarily has to be the end of the world. That's all. And so I just thought that
Also,
was,
what are your opinions about why she cared so much about what people on the internet were thinking about her? Because is that something that you've dismantled inside of yourself? I don't really give much credence to what I take it into consideration, but I don't allow it to go on for 4 days or however long that she allowed it to happen. I'm sure that's because I'm not saying things that are a lightning rod for the kinds of nonsense that she's attracted, but she seemed to be really caught up in.
well, I mean, she also has a much larger platform than either one of us. Like, I'm sure that gets to anybody. Like, I at that level, when people are coming for you, if you haven't made the conscious decision to just ignore all of it because you don't know a single one of them because it's a parasocial relationship, I think that there is a, like, you do get roped up into it. Now, I would love to sit here and tell y'all that, like, I don't give a shit what you think about me, but the truth is that I do give a shit what people think about me. And I struggle with that every day. You know, like, I literally will be like, well, what's so and so's, like, and I have specific people, like, what's so and so's reaction going to be to this XYZ thing that I'm going to post, whether that be Dr. Flo or like Clara or Sahar or like people that I know on the internet or Marcel or Fiona. Like, I could go down the list of like the avatars of people that I'm like, oh, even like yesterday, I had a wonderful lesson with one of my students, and she asked where I had gotten an exercise. And I said, oh, you know, from this person on Instagram. And I would love to send you the video. And she was like, this was the student that I told you about that was like, well, do you post it on Snapchat? I was like, no, I post it on Instagram. But then I was like, okay, this is a girl that like we haven't had any of those political discussions. We haven't had any of the like the racial discussions because it's just never come up in our lessons, and that's okay. Like it just doesn't with some students. And I was like, but my Instagram in particular is quite heavy on the Gaza. It's quite heavy on the social justice stuff as opposed to the singing stuff, which to me is all one thing, but at the same time, like not everybody knows that about me, right? And so I had to be like very consciously like, oh my God, you have to let go of what she thinks about you. Like she's not going to quit just because she's found this or whatever. Like, and people do choose you because you are posting this, you know? And so like I said, I would love to tell you that I don't care, but I do, right? I would love to say that I've moved past that and don't worry about the comments that I'm going to get, or don't worry about how I'm going to respond or getting hate, even though I know that like inevitably it doesn't like, and I didn't include this, but Booker Squared has been getting a lot of hate lately because it's an old thing on the internet. Old, like 6 months old. Like Madeline Pendleton says some things about like
Who's
black
Booker
creators.
Square?
Huh?
Who is Booker Square?
So her real name is Elizabeth, but that's her handle. She's a black lady. She's a black lawyer. She's become pretty big in the political space online. She interviewed Pete Buttigieg, but she got called out by Madeline Pendleton essentially for taking money from the Democratic Party to produce Democratic positive content around the election, and like Madeline Pendleton placed as a white person, placed a target on the backs of black people, and black people got mad and called her a racist, which Madeline is. It's a, anyway, but Booker Squared this morning said, I just want to give an example of the nonsense I deal with. And I feel like this was made very individual, but like, I think this is a universal thing. And this is like this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, actually though, I could choose to believe in this a little bit more. So anyway, I just want to give an example of the nonsense I deal with. I asked Pete Buttigieg, WTF, on social media after he went on that flagrant podcast. People got mad at me. I interviewed Pete live and let him give his explanation for going on the pod. People got mad at me. I collaborated on a post with a trans creator calling out Pete for co-signing transphobia. People got mad at me. All of these people claimed a different political identity. Moral of the story, fuck everybody, keep doing me. And so I think like we are going to get negative and positive comments and in between comments and misunderstood comments and everything in between, regardless of what we say. And I have to latch into that belief a little bit more, that it doesn't matter what I say, and it actually doesn't matter what people say back to me. Because if I believe it, then it's worth saying on Throat Chakra Day.
I personally don't care about what y'all think about me. You can leave a message at the beep, and someone will soon return an opinion back. And even as you were sharing today about thinking about me, please don't think about me. I rarely see your post online. I see you every day, and I see you in peer support and things like that. I do not see your social media posts like that. It's all buried in the feed. It's all buried in the scrolling. So take me off your list. If I've got tomatoes to throw, I'll throw them at your face like I usually do. Sarah, I'm like, I'm not in the feed like that. I do want you to promote your services as you want me to promote my services. I do want you to attract people who could benefit from the light that you're putting into the planet. But I don't have strong opinions about social media because I see it as like this billboard where people are just posting and pasting their opinions about things, and your moral compass seems to always be aligned with truth, love, and justice. So onward and upward. The people that have giving you the most blowback are people who don't want to evolve. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. I got a lot of hate on my Canada post. I didn't even read most of the comments, but there were like 500 comments telling me to lay
We
off
don't even
Canada.
live there, though. We don't even live there.
I know, we don't even live there. So yeah, I mean, there are people that are unwilling to change and people that don't want to heal. But as we've talked about earlier in this podcast, like those are people that like, and I think I said it somewhere the other day, like the only thing that we can literally do is embody the freedom and the healing that we have done. And that's it. Because we have no control of anybody else. And that's where it really comes down to online for me. Like you can sure on your page or under somebody like say that you don't like something, but like you are not in control of anybody else. You cannot control whether they get an abortion. You cannot control whether they agree with Israel or not. You cannot control whether they use AI or not. You literally cannot control it. So you might as well just stop caring about it. You might as well post your opinion on your own page and move on with your life. You know, like that.
And things have tilted also in the social media space, where I remember at the very beginning of social media, like I was actually engaged in a back and forth conversation, and I saw my friends online way more often than I do now. Now I see my Roblox friends more than I see the people on an Instagram feed or a Threads feed or something like that. So why
Right.
even take it so seriously? Just express your positivity, try to put more of that light into the world, and then let everything else go.
Yeah, I try to share the important stuff in the spaces that you've made for that, you know, the real social drops and or real-time social drops, which if you're interested in that, y'all, if you want a little cohort of people to like go look at your posts, feel free to join the WhatsApp community and we'll do the best that we can to follow up with you. But like, I mean, I've even noticed that like on, you know, I don't know if you've noticed like on Threads, I don't even really engage with your posts anymore because I see them in my notifications, but like, what is the point? You know, like you said, I see you every day. I see you on Roblox. I see you at 11 a.m. I see you in other spaces. I see you on this podcast. Like, I'm having the real conversations with the people that I want to have the real conversations with for the most part. And if I'm not having that with you, like maybe social media will surface you, but like I'm not entirely sure that it will. So like there's not a ton of point, you know, sure, that one like little like gives us a little dopamine kick, but if I want Dr. Flo to know something, I'm gonna message Dr. Flo.
Text me, yeah. I see the whole pendulum swinging back towards small is all, which is
Yeah,
a shout out to A
thank
and
God.
B.
Thank God.
Yeah, because a lot of us felt a pressure from media to entertain the masses, and clearly we just wanted a little bit of resonance to keep things moving forward and to
Agreed.
help us feel that we are heading in the right direction.
Agreed.
I love this lady's thoughts about democracy as illusion, especially under the oppressive forces that currently exist. So, y'all give this a thought and let us know in the comments soon what you think about it. Yeah. Did you hear any of that? No, you didn't hear any of that.
No, that's what I said in the private chat. I was like, is it playing for you? But I didn't know if it was playing for others, so I didn't want to like speak out. But no, it was just the main page.
That is hilarious.
I wasn't sure if I freezed up or if you freezed up or
Who
not.
is the Democratic
Oh, there we go. Now we
president?
can hear it.
Trump? Obama? Who is here in Britain? We should be clear. Democracy is an illusion. We cannot have democracy in a capitalist, imperialist, patriarchal system, religious system.
Why not?
Because this is, they want money. Because if you remove religion and capitalism and imperialism, then you will have socialism. And then no government will be there, you know. They are afraid of the real power of the people. You cannot have democracy. Because what is democracy? Democracy is real freedom. There is no democratic president in the world. And I say truly. Who is the democratic president? Trump? Obama? Who is here in Britain? We should be clear. Democracy is an illusion. We cannot have democracy in a capitalist, imperialist, patriarchal system, religious system.
Why not?
Because this is, they want money. Because if you remove religion and capitalism and imperialism, then you will have socialism. And then no government will be there, you know. They are afraid of the real power of the people. You cannot have democracy. Because what is democracy? Democracy is real freedom. There is no democratic president in the world.
Do you actually think democracy is freedom?
She said real freedom.
Right.
She said democracy is real freedom. So that I agree with, but not the farce of democracy that we've been handed. I thought it was interesting that she said that as long as capitalism, religion, and imperialism exist, which we hold the idea of democracy under, but it's a lie. As long as those things are still in place, you know, there is no such thing as the people getting what they want. Under real democracy or real freedom as democracy, people would be fed. I do believe that under a real democratic system, people would vote for the interests that actually serve them. Being able to eat, being able to have a place to live, being able to be cared for with their community. But under those big three that she named, you're not going to get anything that's really on the side of the people. And those three things, the dominating nature of imperialism, capitalism that is the constant competition, and religion that can often be the mind fuck, it's going to be a long time that we're going to have prying that out of the hands of the people. They really like those three things a lot.
Well, they're taught to. I would say, I mean, this is back to, I feel like I talked about this.
Have they? But you said they're taught to. Have they rejected it yet? Have they rejected the education?
Something that you're being taught from your youngest age.
I mean, how indeed?
Your youngest, your youngest memorable age. You know.
To a moment ago with the the commercial that runs, it tells you these shoes are going to make you feel better.
Right. To, oh, my parents didn't have money for the nice sports. To, like, I think what we're talking about here is an egalitarian society, which wouldn't be the thing that we really have to let go of as a society is the hierarchy. There are hierarchies all over the place, and people absolutely refuse to not have a hierarchy. I mean, you talked about this last week, I think, at the very end of the podcast, which is like, there is a theory that if we all turned in any wealth, right, that the wealth would just end up being accumulated by another group of people. We took it away from the billionaires. It would not just redistribute naturally and equally. It would end up somewhere else with a hierarchy, because we believe in the hierarchy, right? Which is the premise of capitalism. Is the premise, like, technically we have a racialized capitalism, right? Like that's what's really happening here. And we never had a democracy in the United States, y'all. We've always had a republic. We have always had a republic. Always, I'm gonna say it again. We've always had a republic. Not a democracy. So I think, I think it's the belief in the hierarchy, which again is taught, right? Because we don't, like, I think the thing is that I've learned from having like a 16-month-old is like, Piper doesn't see the world like we see the world. Like Piper thinks the dogs are as human as the humans are, right? Like Piper views the world very much like left to right instead of up and down, you know? And I think like until we view the world and are not taught to view the world in the up and down sense, but rather in the left and right movement, there's not really going to be any movement under capitalism and to a less policed society, right? Because that's what government is functioning as right now, is a policing of society, right? So I don't know. That's just like
A maintenance of the status quo.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whew. Also, the idea that was posited that I presented earlier in the community was about this idea and claim that wealth redistribution is ineffective because the money will return to the wealthy due to mindset. The internet saying that this is a critique rooted in various economic and psychological ideas. While some research suggests psychological factors do play a role in economic behavior, critics of this argument point to the influence of systemic factors like policy and law in shaping long-term wealth distribution. So some arguments that support the mindset critique is in behavioral differences. This perspective suggests that certain behaviors, like a tendency towards saving and investment, are more common among the wealthy and would allow them to reaccumulate wealth quickly after redistribution. Those with a tendency towards immediate spending might not retain newly acquired wealth for long. However, the other research challenges the link between hard work and high earnings, noted that many low-paying jobs require significant effort for minimal pay. Also, an argument supporting the mindset critique is the better mousetrap effect. This idea suggests that individuals with specific valuable skills and knowledge will simply rebuild their wealth, regardless of a one-time redistribution of physical money. In this view, wealth is a product of drive, knowledge, and skills, not just accumulated cash. There's also the Laffer curve, which is an economic principle that suggests that there's a point at which higher taxes negatively impact incentives for individual economic activity, leading people to work less if the marginal gain is smaller. Some of the counter arguments are all about structural and legal systems. Many argue that wealth concentrates at the top, not because of mindset, but due to systemic and legal frameworks designed to benefit the wealthy. Policies such as tax codes, inheritance laws, and regulation influence how wealth is accumulated and passed down. Some also say that redistribution is already happening upward. Some analyses highlight that a massive redistribution of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1% has already occurred over several decades, and this upward shift is attributed to policies like regressive taxation and weakened labor protections. A focus on opportunity, not just cash, and also cash transfers as an increase in well-being. It's also a counterpoint to say that a 2023 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that private cash transfers increased happiness, with the largest gains of recipients in lower income countries. While this doesn't address the systemic nature of wealth inequality, it does show a direct positive effect on an individual's well-being. So, Tara, I guess getting a windfall of cash does, in fact, make you happy. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Y'all, as always, we ask every week for a ceasefire now declaration in our hearts and also in our minds and also in the world. We can no longer stand by and watch the destruction that's happening over in Gaza and say nothing. I do believe that our precious Greta left Barcelona and is back on a flotilla, heading right back into the belly of the beast.
Yeah, I think there's a couple flotillas out right now. This is a video. It's a short video.
Do you think that the flotillas will be effective this time? Do you think that eventually we'll be able to pierce through?
No, and I don't necessarily know that it matters if they do. I think the point is to be
awareness.
Yeah, I think the point is awareness. I don't think the point is to break through because Gaza needs more help than a couple flotillas can give it. You know, they just like that's the truth. It's 2 million people. You know.
What's a boat gonna do, right?
Right.
Heaven help us.
Leading experts on genocide. The International Association of Genocide Scholars says the Israeli government's policies and actions there do meet the legal definition of genocide, which are acts committed with the specific intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Israel called the report an embarrassment based on Hamas lies. Since Hamas massacred more than 1,200 people on October 7th, 2023, more than 63,000 Palestinians have been killed, according to health officials in Gaza.
Yes, I'm also, not sure that how much it matters that it's been classified as a genocide, even though we've known it's been a genocide because literally the Israeli government has called it a genocide. But like, sure, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Israel bombed a hospital earlier
Feels like
this
being in a car with a drunk driver with the doors locked sometimes in the society.
Yeah. Yeah. We spent 2 years trying to figure out if it was a genocide when they were saying it was a genocide. Like,
And it's
that's
so
wild.
disingenuous for people to finally get on their soapboxes now and say, now something must be done. It's like you were intentionally blind and willfully ignorant for years, and you want us to pretend like I've been asking myself, like, what changed to now allow these governments and world leaders to finally see it? What incentivized them to witness it for the first time?
Something politically in their countries, because it's all about power. It's all about power. So, and then I was talking about this a little bit earlier, but Black liberation is connected to brown liberation, is connected to indigenous liberation, is connected to Palestinian liberation, is connected to disabled liberation, is connected to queer liberation, is connected to trans liberation, is connected to women's liberation, is connected to all our liberation. All of it is connected. And that is why we say ceasefire now every week. All of it is connected. None of us are free until all of us are free.
Let the words right out of my mouth. It's true. It's true. And we can feel the heaviness of this. If we are honest with ourselves, we can feel that it's not going to get better, but we're stubborn creatures. It has to get even worse before we start caring about our neighbors globally and also locally. We're doing our part in the network, but it's certainly not without its struggle. But we've got our program, y'all. Adopt a Black Artist. Feel free to come into that and learn more about that through our website. The Daily Peer Support Group. The Daily Superior Peer Support Group happens at 11 a.m. Eastern. Many clients and friends of the family and friends of the network do come through, and it is a bring your own belief experience. It is a space of vulnerability and support. And if you are looking to have a community beyond a loner culture or a desire to be in a silo in the world, and you're looking for people who want to encourage you, equip you, and empower you to live your truth and live it in joy, please consider stopping by and giving us a listen, and maybe even speaking up for the love that you have in your heart. Also, I am continuing to push out admin and support services for creatives and humans of all walks. If you would like to have the edge taken off of your life, or if you need a bit of support on an admin level or life support, just let me know. I'm happy to help in all of the ways that I can. We're also still steady working on the love experience. I got my lashes this morning from the community about how the project is working. I just got to continue moving in the direction that I'm going in and not doubt myself and not doubt what I'm called to do. And so I am steady hiring and calling people in, and we'll continue to grow this as we progress over the days, weeks, months, and years to come. Please continue to send your positive vibes. I do appreciate all of you who have given your time, talent, and treasure to the work that we're doing within Love and Action Network. Not a single cent or second is wasted. We really take this seriously, and everything that you've been contributing, once again, in those areas of time, talent, and treasure has been greatly appreciated. Everything from Cash Apps, Venmos, PayPals, and even the sugar-free lavender syrup that Tara is sending through the Amazon on tomorrow. Super, super grateful.
All right. I have Blackening the Canon group chat over on WhatsApp. I send links there. At some point, it will be other things, but right now it is me sending links. I replaced the graphic with a Who Are Freedom Fridays for. This is for anybody that doesn't have a budget but wants to work one-on-one or in a small group with me. I am not doing my standard masterclass that I've been doing for about the last month. Tomorrow, I just bit off a little more than I could chew this week. So I do have alignment checks and alignment resets. Alignment checks are 15 minutes. Alignment resets are 30 minutes. And they can be on whatever topic you feel you want to talk about. And you can book those at tarapriolo.com/links, and it's the second link down. I'll also try to get up the past recordings very soon. So those are what's going on in our Tara Priolo studio world.
It is a thrill, y'all, to be able to connect with you every week and unpack some of the things that we see in sports and politics and also in so-called democracy. If you're interested in being a co-host and bringing your ideas and thoughts to our ready-made stage, you can always reach out to us at lovedandlovable.bio.link, lovedandlovable.link, lovedandlovable.bio.link. I think I missed the second one. Lovedandlovable.bio.link. The link in bio. Just tap in. We would love to hear from you all the same. And the last thing that I will share in light of my website flub there is that we talked this morning in the peer support group about how easy it becomes to be yourself and to bring your integrated self to any stage you're on when you have no fear of people judging you because you've taken your self-judgment down. There were days, because I had a perfection complex, or also known as perfectionism, where I would be thinking for days and weeks about the flub that I just did. Or I used to have relationships with Tara and other people where I would completely re-rehearse. We would joke with each other about a flub or something and replay it and build it into the ways in which we joke with each other for years. Remember that time that you said lovedandlovable.link? And it would just completely just be part of our environment to rehearse everything that went wrong, which of course created a judgmental environment. And then that's why people stop showing up in their fullness and in their wholeness, because they're afraid of quote unquote getting it wrong. I want you all to know that as it relates to what it means to be a human right now, we're aided by amazing forces and amazing technological advancements. And you really can't get your life wrong, even if something like this is being recorded. And that flub is going to be out in the time machine in the cloud forever. It doesn't matter. what matters is that you feel loved and lovable today to yourself. And the biggest question for me and for Tara, for everyone else that's in our vicinity, and anyone in the world, is how would you live your life differently today, just for today, if you deep down believed that you are loved and also worthy of love? And so hopefully something that we've said today has triggered you into your worthiness and makes you want to find that can-do energy inside of your heart. What are your closing thoughts, Pepper?
Yeah, I mean, we've been on it all day of like this like neutrality / experimental mindset / not being the person that stops you, you know? And I think that that is a pretty universal thing that, you know, we're the only person that's actually in our noggins, right? Talking to ourselves. We're the only thing up there blabbering back and forth. And so the more work we can do letting that go, right? And letting the doubt go, as Dr. Flo was talking about, or at least not letting the doubt stop us. I think the better off we will be as, as people that are hoping to heal and hoping to be free, which I think is what we all want.
In the words of Les Brown that we've been quoting a lot lately, we don't know enough about our lives to be cynical. So why not bet on ourselves today? Thanks for watching and holding space for love daily within our network. Justice for Charles McNair. They are still fighting for his freedom, and so we are standing behind that cause out of North Carolina. And thank you to Poppy Water 33, Tara Olo Studio, and myself, Andre the Float, for showing back up to the scene of the love crime as often as we can. We thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stay in your power, stay in your joy, stay loved and lovable. We'll see you very, very soon around the network.